last sessions that I went to today were on brain fog. And in the first session, they were all about the patient perspective, actually educating rheumatologists from a patient how brain fog impacts her day and impacts most of our days, and how it might be presented and things that impacts, like not just remembering to take your medications, but it can impact your whole day. And the more the day goes on, the more likely you are to have impact. And then they drove into a little bit more of the science side, first looking at fibromyalgia and how the cognitive function is there. And they could see that as the day went on, kind of like I just said, that people had lower response to tests and that there was more cognitive impairment. They looked at the cognitive function on fibromyalgia patients, and they went through a bunch of different cognitive function tests, the memory tests with us, and how the audience actually takes some of them. And I could see how they could be difficult, especially after a long day or a bad flare day, trying to remember which animals they flashed on the screen, what are their names, ordering them from smallest to largest on the spot. So that could be pretty difficult. What they did find is they did see some cognitive function impairment. They did call out that we need to test people throughout the day, because in a controlled environment at the office, I mean, it's very dependent on how your day started and how you're feeling at that moment, and it's a real controlled environment. So they're actually using app notifications or text messages to collect data from patients throughout the day to measure, are they really clear, are they really foggy, and what happened to get them to that point. So that's really good for them to acknowledge. And then looking at RA, they didn't find any studies on RA and brain fog, which seems crazy probably to this community, but they did start looking at it, and a lot of the scores that they're getting from talking to RA patients, looking at the data, is that their data looks pretty normal to the average person. So it wasn't really that helpful, but she did report that there's a gap between perceived cognitive function and what the tests are showing. And so I think that's really important. We feel like we have brain fog, but there's no way to measure it. And so she was looking at different ways to compare brain fog in RA patients and how to measure it. And some of the new ways that she was using all kind of pointed back to there seems to be something going on with memory, whether it's verbal memory, short-term memory. Something happened with memory, and the more disease function you have, especially moderate to high, oral steroid use or ARF positivity were associated with higher cognitive dysfunction. So that was super interesting, and now they're going to go back and do more testing and studies, because obviously there's something here, they just haven't been looking at the right data. So that's really cool. But a bonus call out for the week, pretty much every session has said we need to look at sleep. Because if we're not getting good sleep, we're aging faster, we have worse cognitive dysfunction, we're not metabolizing food and digestion the same, and so we really need to look at that. And for those of you that have RA and maybe have trouble sleeping, they did say that they found high rates of sleep apnea with RA patients. So that's all I have today. I hope this was super helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know.